What's up, YouTube? It's that time of the week again. It's Jordan from the Sesh Podcast, joined as always with Dan Lee.
What up, everybody? How's it going out there?
It's going good. We got a exciting week happening here at the Silks. Obviously, we've got our big PLO tourney coming up. We've got other exciting things going on. Obviously, the new promotions all month of September. But it's been a little while. So, Dan Lee, I haven't seen you in a little bit. Last time I saw you, you were heading out to Vegas. How was that trip?
It was good. I went out there for a friend's wedding. By the way, I want to congratulate Nicole Tipper and Sam Kovitz on being newly married. I can no longer call Nicole Tipper anymore, so that kind of sucks. But I did have a great time. We flew out there on Saturday morning, and I landed at Vegas Saturday afternoon. And I wanted to relax, but a good friend of mine, Sherman Johnson, just couldn't stay away from the table, so we found ourselves gambling right away. I think we went to the Aria Casino to play a little bit of poker that night. And then we went out to this place called Batista's Hole in the Wall, which, if you guys haven't been there, very good food. It's near the Link Hotel, which is by the Cromwell, which is where we stayed. But that was a fun time as well. And, yes, Saturday night we all just kind of hung out, drank, gambled, had a good time. The next day was Sunday, the day of her wedding. It was at the Little White Chapel, about 10 minutes from where we were staying. It was very nice, a small little wedding, yet very, very nice. And after that, again, we all just drank and gambled and had some dinner. So it was a nice time for the weekend.
That's good. Sounds like a fun time. Now, I don't know. I was seeing different things posted on social media and stuff from people there at the wedding. But it seemed like to me, Rob Della Camera was obsessed with some dude who played the violin and other weird shit. What was that all about?
Okay, so I will admit, I saw Rob post this on Facebook. I forget what this guy's name is, but he's on YouTube, and he does shows, like, in Vegas all the time, apparently. However, he plays, like, the violin, and he DJs at the same time. And he's actually really, really good. If you've heard his music, or if you've heard his stuff, if you haven't, go to Rob's page and check it out. It's literally just a guy playing the violin, DJing at the Cromwell, like the center bar there. I liked it. I thought it was awesome. People came into the dance floor, started dancing. Other people were just sitting there jamming out to the music. I remember one night I left to go play Pai Gow or something. Next thing I know, Sherman's on the dance floor just, doing his thing. So this guy was legit. So if you want to see and listen to what I'm talking about, go to Rob's Facebook page and check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell Rob was extremely impressed. Even Sherman gave this guy a shout-out on his social media. So, I mean, it seemed like some pretty entertaining stuff. Now, I also noticed that Rob Della Camera may have called you out about not texting him when you were at the tables, that you were maybe afraid of him as far as playing poker.
Okay, first of all, I fear nobody when it comes to poker. Okay. So I certainly don't fear Rob. It was the first night that we got in. We were at the Aria, and I think Rob was busy with dinner or gambling or just hanging out. And literally all I did was post a picture of Sherman at the table and said, "Where are you at, Rob?" A couple people thought this comment was quite amusing. In Rob's case, he thought it was a little more out of fear because, he said I could have just texted him. However, we did go play poker the next day at the Venetian, and Sherman's at one table, I'm at one table, Rob's at another table, and we kept texting each other back and forth, "Hey, Rob, seat open. Hey, Rob, seat open." Not only did Rob never show up at our table, but he never even responded to it. So if you think about it, who's really the one that's afraid?
Oh, wow. This is insider information. I did not know that Rob was ducking you. I mean, that is what you're saying. You're saying Rob ducked you.
I'm not saying he was ducking me. I'm not saying he is afraid of me. However, he did say that he won all his poker sessions, but one common theme in all those sessions is I was not at his table.
I would say what you're indirectly saying is Rob was ducking you. And that's what we'll go with, because Rob Della Camera, if anyone knows him, I'm sure if you've played in the Silks, you've met him, he'll tell you he's the best at everything. I mean, you want to talk about football back in high school, he was fucking Aaron Hernandez. You want to talk about, well, maybe that's a bad example.
He murders people?
Maybe a bad example.
Can we come up with a better player to, compare him to than Aaron Hernandez?
Anyway, if you tell him, hey, Rob, were you a good bowler? It'll tell you back in high school he averaged 290. If you tell him, hey, Rob, can you golf? He'd say he was just, a couple strokes shy of the tour. So if you've ever met Rob, he is pretty much the best that ever was in anything. So the fact that he was openly ducking you is impressive.
But, regardless of what it is, no matter, if it's sports, if it's anything else, if it's poker, you're always going to meet your match, so to speak. You're always going to find that player that, just owns you. I have someone like that. I'm sure Jordan has someone like that. There's always someone that you can't beat. And I'm not, trying to toot my own horn or anything, but, Rob and I have a very long history, and I am certainly up on him. So that's all I'm really going to say.
I mean, maybe we'll get Rob on here one time, and he can maybe set the record straight if that's the case.
I would love that.
So it sounds like Vegas was a good time, man. And while you were out in Vegas, your boy was here. I was covering the Monday 10K guarantee. Now, numbers weren't as great as we were hoping for this, but it was still a good tournament nonetheless. I was able to cover a good amount of the tournament. Now, these things run pretty late till about, 1:30, 2:30 in the morning. And your boys got to get up kind of early sometimes. So I will say the coverage did lack from when they were six-handed on. There weren't really any updates from that beyond that point. But I do want to give a shout-out to a new fan of the podcast and a guy who chopped three ways, and that's our boy Trayvon, what's up, my man? Congrats. From what I could see in the tournament, he seemed to build a pretty healthy chip stack early on and seemed to kind of cruise his way to the final table. He did get put in some spots by my boy Cricket. Have you ever seen that guy before?
The phone service?
Kind of, but not. Like the dude who I was posting, the black guy with the sunglasses on, his name was Cricket. That's the only information I had.
I mean, I saw pictures of it on social media, but I don't think I've ever seen this guy playing here before, so he must be a newcomer.
He probably is. I think Tiffany said he plays, some of the tournaments at like Hard Rock and other places around here. But he had overwhelming chips, when they got to the final table. He was the chip leader. And then your boy Jim Brinkley just started knocking people out left and right. But Cricket was constantly putting the pressure on some guys, and Trayvon was one of those guys that he put the pressure on and put him to a decision every now and then. And it's good to see that. I don't know how Cricket ended up doing. Maybe Cricket was one of these three guys that chopped as well, but it's good to see Trayvon was able to kind of make his way down to the final three and get a nice little chop. Do you know what the chop was three ways?
I do not, but I think you guys barely met the guarantee that day, right? Like, it wasn't too much over what it was.
I think it was 3,400 up top.
Okay, so that's probably like just literally right at the 10K mark that they wanted to meet.
Yeah, and normally we will cover this tournament all the way till the end. However, we had agreed to cover this tournament before we realized that Daniel would be out of town, and Daniel's usually the late man. So, I'll usually cover the tournament early on. Daniel will usually cover it towards the end, and then you'll have the results of who won and everything like that. However, unable to do that this time because of scheduling circumstances. But don't worry, in the future when we cover our tournament, we will make sure that we are able to cover it until the end. And as this goes on, as we keep covering tournaments, we'll get more information on the players, chip counts. It'll just keep getting better and better. If you look at the coverage from the first one we did in August to the one we did here, there was a lot more information, a lot more updates as far as this one was concerned. The only difference was we didn't really get to cover the ending of it from six-handed on, so that was a little disappointing. But like I said, it's only the second one we've covered, and we had a little bit of scheduling hiccup there. We'll get that ironed out, and the next one we cover will be even better.
Speaking of that, we have a upcoming Pot Limit Omaha tournament coming to the Silks this Wednesday, September 18th at 6 o'clock, I think it is.
6 o'clock.
It's a $150 buy-in, $5,000 guarantee tournament. If you haven't played PLO and you want to, learn inexpensively, this might be a good way to do so. The big difference between Omaha and Hold'em is, in Hold'em you get dealt 2 cards, and in Pot Limit Omaha you get dealt 4 cards, but you can only use 2. So, for example, let's say...
And you have to use 2.
You have to use 2. So let's say the board is King, Queen, 10, 5, all hearts, and you have just the ace of hearts in your hand. You do not have a flush. You have to use 2 in your hand. So if you're interested in playing, Omaha, this is a very good tournament. It's a great value. There's going to be a lot of people here. If you ask me, in my mind, I think at some point in the near future, Pot Limit Omaha may overtake Hold'em as like the game of choice for many players. But I myself have not decided whether or not I'm playing it. Jordan, I think he is.
Yeah, I think I'll get back in the ring for this one.
And if I'm not playing it, I've decided that I'm going to cover it, just to kind of improve on our last coverage of the tournament that we didn't do so well in. Plus, I think with Omaha, we're going to get a lot more fresh faces. People are going to have a lot better bad beat stories because it's Omaha, So if I do not cover it, or if I don't play it, I will certainly cover it. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this this kind of tournament as opposed to the boring old Hold'em that they always play.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be a different kind of tournament, and it's going to be fun. Like Daniel said, this is a chance to play a game that is a lot of fun, and you really are not going to be able to lose a ton of money. I mean, yeah, you might take 1, 2, 3 bullets at it, but if that were the case, you're looking at spending a little under $500 to have a good time. You try playing cash with this game, you can lose thousands of dollars pretty quickly. So, those people who play in the Silks, maybe you play the 1-2 game Hold'em, maybe you play 1-3 Hold'em, maybe you just play the tournaments here. This will be something different. I think it'd be fun for you to come out and just have a good time. I can tell you the level of play is not going to be so overwhelming that you're going to feel like it's not profitable to play, because I'll tell you, from what I've heard, the people that are going to come out and play this, it's not going to be the strongest field. So, who's to say you can't get in there and get lucky and build up a stack?
Yeah, in Omaha, there's a lot more luck involved, personally, if you ask me, than there is in Hold'em. And there's going to be plenty of people from the Silks playing this tournament, and hopefully those people will tell the people from the Hard Rock, from Tampa Greyhound, from Derby to come out and play, because I know PLO has become very popular over the last couple of years, and this is a good chance to kind of hone your skills in a game against other players.
If you had to guess, do you think this tournament would bring out our boy Brad?
I miss Brad. I'm not going to lie. For those of you who do not know who Brad is, the next time you see a taller guy with comb-over hair, a sailboat shirt, Florida Gator shorts on, and loafers.
Big McDonald's sweet tea.
That is Brad. Big personality, really nice guy, really great guy. Self-proclaimed best Omaha player at Silks. So hopefully he's listening. And Brad, if you're in this tournament, I will definitely be in this tournament just to get the chance to play with you once again, because it's been a while.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened to Brad. Brad used to be a pretty big Silks regular here all the time. He's one of those guys like Phil, like Bob, like Rich, like Paul, that he has money, he likes to gamble, and he's entertaining at the table. So he was one of those guys that we love to play with all the time. He went missing. I hope he's all right. And if this somehow travels to Brad, I'll tell you right now, there's no one I'd rather give my chips to than you, my friend. So I hope you're going to be able to make it. It should be fun.
Well, speaking of, local past legends of the PLO game, where's Paul Hayes at? That's the real question. For those of you who don't know, we've had Paul Hayes on the podcast before. He went from poker dealer to life insurance agent to
financial
guru. But he once told me that he is possibly one of the best Omaha players, Omaha high-low, pot limit, that there is. And that when he gets all his chips in the middle, he's going to have the best hand a lot. So I hope that this tournament brings out him and the best of him, because it's been a while since he's played poker as well.
What is it with all the guys who play Omaha occasionally thinking they're the best? There's that. You never hear any of these guys be like, oh, yeah, I love playing Omaha. I suck at it. Like, you never hear that. Now, you could say that's generally the case with poker, but, like, I feel like with Omaha, it's even amplified. Like, nobody plays bad at Omaha, apparently.
Well, this is probably something you'll never ever hear me say is, I enjoy playing Omaha, but I am not very good.
And that's a good way to look at it, an honest assessment.
I am also not very lucky when it comes to Omaha either. I'm actually the opposite. Bless you. I'm very unlucky, actually. I remember about a couple months ago.
Oh, bro, I don't even want to hear this.
No, I'm just going to tell one little bad beat story. That's all there is. It was a rough night. I was probably down a solid $1,000. So I started this hand about 1,000. We're 5-handed. and we're playing 1, 2, 5, 5 on the button. There's an open at 25 in the collar. I look down at queens and sevens, double suited. I call. A good friend of mine, Dustin Bradley, calls, and it ends up being a 5-way affair. And the flop comes out queen, deuce, 3 with 2 spades. So I flop top set in a queen-eye flush draw. It gets checked to Corey, actually. Corey, I know you're a big PLO guy too, so
Who
we better
also
see you
thinks
this
he's the
Wednesday.
best.
So he goes all in for like $100. With as big as of a hand as I have, I decided to just call. Maybe get someone in there with a smaller flush draw. Maybe someone get in there with, aces or something, or a straight draw. So I just call. Dustin calls. Everybody else folds. The turn seems pretty safe. It's an offsuit 3. So now I have top full house. I decided to lead out for 150, and then Dustin just goes all in, which for my effective stack was about 800 total. And in Hold'em, this is like a pretty easy snap call, but in Omaha, you always have to look out for quads, bigger full houses, stuff like that. In this case, the only hand that beats me is pocket 3s, and as many of you know, if you don't know, Omaha is pretty much just playing the nuts. I had the second nuts at this point, and I just kind of had this really gross, weird feeling about this hand, but can I ever really fold? We're 5-handed, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough fold. If you were to make it, you were really fucking good. But like you said, you're not that good. So, yeah, I don't know if you can fold there. If you break down the hand, it's more likely that he has quads than he's doing this with deuces full or, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for him to even have a queen in hand because you have 2 of them. So, I mean, given the way Dustin plays, and you break it down, it's just more likely that he's doing this with 3s than a hand that you can beat. On the other hand, like I said, I don't think I'm folding that.
Are you getting away from a hand like this?
I'm not folding it.
I think it was 800 more.
I don't think I'm folding. If I'm being 100% honest, I don't think I am. But if I seriously broke it down, it makes sense. And if you can find a fold there, you're a really good player.
Because first of all, I took this into consideration as well and that's why I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I know this sounds kind of silly, but typically when players run well, they tend to play better and they tend to have it for specific sessions. That all came together this session, this hand for Dustin. And the way he just said pot, it just felt so confident. But there's only one combination of hands that he could have as far as having 3s in them that have me beat. And I'm not gonna lie, I took a good 2 minutes thinking about it, but I just thought to myself, maybe this is where everything turns around. Because if I won that pot, it would have been a huge swing. Instead of being down 1,000, I would have probably been even. I actually would have been up a little bit, but I ended up making the call. And the first thing he says is, "I have quads once or twice." I'm like, awesome, cool. This is pretty much my night because I was having a rough night. His night was basically the opposite of my night. I just said one time. I usually run it twice, but if I'm gonna bank the 1-outer, I want to do it the first time. So obviously it didn't come, and I think it was a minus 2K night for me. So, and since then, that was probably 2 months ago. Since then, I haven't played much Omaha. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and that's why I think this tournament is good because instead of losing 2,000. I can only lose 150 or 300 or 500 if I decide to rebuy.
Yeah, and that's why we think this will be a good opportunity for maybe some novices or some players that don't play PLO that often to come on out and see what's going on. I mean, I'm playing the tournament. It's the last PLO tournament I think I played was on Bovada, maybe 2014. I did take that home, by the way.
Yeah, he got it on with 3 kings in his hand.
I played well. I ran over the final table, but this will be fun. I'm not expecting any kind of sick results here, but I do want to have a good time. It's been a little while since I've actually played poker, and I don't know why that is. I've been very busy with other stuff outside of here, but I will try to dedicate some more time to the grind.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So I've seen you in here not as much as I used to. You used to play 2 or 3 times a week. Now you're barely playing 1 time a week. You used to play every Friday, but you were MIA last Friday. The Friday before that, we were playing, but then we decided to, not play.
I actually haven't played
instead.
I haven't played in So I didn't play this past Friday, and I didn't play the Friday before that.
Have you lost the urge to play?
I've just gotten really busy.
Is there a new lady or man in your life?
Funny guy here. No new lady or anything like that. I've gotten really busy. As most of you know, I do coach youth hockey, and the season did start in September, so that's a big reason why I haven't been in the Silks as much. I've been in practice. We've got games, so I just haven't been in here as much. Now, I will be playing the tournament on Wednesday. I will put in a cast session on Friday. But that's all I can really say for right now. But yeah, I mean, I would like to start playing a little bit more. It's been a little while. I've just been busy. When you're doing as much stuff as I'm doing right now, and this is kind of the problem. This is why I didn't really want to coach this year, is because I literally don't have any time. So with the podcast, with coaching, with work, it is a nightmare to try to keep up with this schedule. But you will see me in here more. I can promise you I will be playing the tournament, and I will be in here Friday playing cash on Friday.
So in other words, if you need if you're in some need of money, come play when Jordan's playing.
Well, that would be the opposite of needing money, right?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. You haven't played in a while, so you might be a little bit rusty.
I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you, I think my last, 4 sessions, were, almost plus $3,000. So we were running well when I took a little bit of a break here. But your boy is going to be playing. So, yeah, if you want to donate money and you don't really want it, yeah, send it my way. Come here. I'll tell you what table I'm at. You follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. I'll let you know where I'm at, and I'd be more than happy to sit down and hopefully get lucky on some of you folks.
You know, it's funny because when I was out in Vegas, there is such a huge difference between the poker out there and the poker, not specifically in Tampa or Florida, but this room specifically, the Silks poker room. I guess we're kind of spoiled in the fact of we get such good games, we get such great action. The 1-3, it's a 1 to 500 max, whereas most of the places out in Las Vegas, the 1-3 is a 100 to 300 max with very little action. So I'm not gonna lie, when I was out there, I did miss playing in this room a lot. I had to adjust, my style and get accommodated to the players and how they played. But we're just so spoiled in this particular room.
Well, I think one of the benefits we have is in Vegas, there's a million different card rooms, and they all have different stakes. So in this room, you get guys who are bankrolled who could be playing 5-10 and beyond even, but they're forced to play the 1-3 or the 1-3-6 because those are usually the biggest games running here. So, yeah, the action's going to be crazy fast, tons of straddling. Where in Vegas, you have so many options. The 1-3 games are strictly for the tourists, for the people in town. Oh, I'll play a little poker. But the guys that want to gamble big or play for bigger pots, bigger money, they have more options. They can play the 2-5, the 5-10, the 10-25. Those games are always running. So yeah, we are very spoiled here at Slugs because you've got a lot of guys that can be playing really big games, but because usually the biggest game you'll get is a 5-5 game here. It plays kind of crazy. Everyone will say the 1-3 here plays like a really good 2-5, and that's accurate. The 1-3-6 plays really fucking big. So it's because you've got guys that aren't afraid to splash around. They've got tons of money, and it's kind of, yeah, you're right. We kind of spoiled. We take it for granted here.
I want to go over a hand analysis from out when I was in Vegas that I feel like I played actually decent. And the other guy, I don't want to say he played it poorly or he didn't make a right decision, but I just feel like, I don't know, you tell me how you would have played this hand. So we're at the Bellagio. It's a 1-3 game. I'm 450 effective. I opened for 10 in the low jack with 6-4 of diamonds. So playing tight. Yes. I get called in the cutoff, and the blinds fold. So the flop comes out jack 3-5, 1 diamond. I flop open-ended, and I decided to bet 10 again. I know this is a very small bet, but I make a small bet like this with pretty much my entire range. Aces, pocket jacks, the 6-4. So I think my hand could look like a lot of things here, and I could get called pretty light, and I can get raised pretty light.
Now, what kind of player is this player you're playing against?
This player in particular, he was a little bit more, I guess, I don't know if solid conservative is like a real term for a poker player. I mean, he was more tight than loose, and he was a little bit more passive than aggressive.
Okay, so yeah, he was. Yeah, I guess
But
tight conservative is a way to put it.
He was certainly very conservative. Like, he didn't want to put himself in spots like where he had to gamble. So anyway, he raises to 35, and I think the only play here is to just call. I thought about re-raising here because I think he just has like top pair, just a jack, ace jack, king jack, but I didn't think he would fold because I knew if I raised like 100, I'd have to make a really big bet on the turn, and I wasn't ready to do that. So I just called. At this point, there's about $90 in the pot. The turn card is good for me. The turn's the 8 of diamonds. So now I have a flush draw with my open-ended straight draw. And considering how I played the hand, I think I had to check here, which is what I did. And he makes a pretty small bet. He bets 45. And again, I think I could certainly raise here again with my added equity. But considering the turn is such a brick, I don't think I'm going to get him to fold. So I decided once again to just call. So at this point, there's about $200 in the middle. I think 180. The river card comes a 6. So now I make a pair. And I just decided to give up. I decided to check, and he fires out again, but very small. He bets $60. Now I know that he just has one pair. I mean, I was pretty sure the whole time. And considering I had already profiled him as a more tight, solid, conservative kind of player, I didn't think he would want to put himself in a position where he'd have to make a very tough call. So what I decided to do was I decided to go all in. I go all in for an additional 240. I went all in for exactly 300. And he's not happy. He goes in the tank, thinks about it for a good 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just sitting there all quiet, praying that he folds because I obviously know that I'm beat here. And after a while, he just puts the chips in, and I just say, you're good. And what do you think his hand is?
2 queens.
Now, okay, I already told you this story, so it's not really fair that you know.
That was an epic read.
So he called me a pocket queens. His hand was very under-repped. But I think in that situation, I'm not saying it based off the result, but I think you're supposed to fold because a river check raise all in, for the most part, is usually never, ever a bluff. Ever. So I ended up going felt. He made a good call. Props to him. I feel like I played the hand okay. Because think about it. If the river came a 7 or a deuce, I'm doing the exact same thing, and I'm getting called by the exact same hand, exact same person. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't mind the play. I think, like you said, a check raise on the river is so strong. It's almost never a bluff. However, I don't know how you were playing and how this guy perceived your game to be throughout the whole session. That's a big factor you got to play in it too. Have I shown any bluffs? Have I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar? These are things that he's probably trying to figure out as well.
I was playing fairly tight. I was opening, not a lot, but I was opening pretty standard, whenever it folded around or whenever I had a strong hand or whenever I had 6 high. And but my hands never got to showdown, so no one really knew how I was playing.
I would say a more realistic line would be the turn bet was very small. If you could put him on essentially one pair in this spot, I think you could put in the raise there with all your equity, hoping that you get there, obviously. But then you've also set yourself up for a nice river shove that it's going to be real hard for him to hold on 2 streets with one pair. I think when you check raise the river there, it's very strong. But in this case, he's really trying to figure out, like, would you really play your strong hands like this? Which you would, but does he know that? And is this more of along the lines of a missed draw, which it was? So I think barreling 2 streets at it, so putting the check raise on the turn, he's not folding the turn based on how this hand's kind of played out. He's going to at least call the turn and see what you do on the river. And that 6 there on the river, I mean, if you bomb it, he really's got to give you credit for more than one pair. If you say he plays kind of tight conservative, I don't think anyone can call 2 streets there with one pair in that kind of spot. So that's the only difference I would have done. I think if you plan on calling, if you just call the turn and then you don't get there, I'd much rather just give up. I like the just check fold and you're like, fuck it, just try to get it back in another hand. But I don't hate the check raise. You went for it. I just think
gotta have heart.
But I think once you get to that point on the river where you brick, I think you kind of in most circumstances, I think you're just gonna give up there. I'd rather the play on the turn setting up the river shove instead of just the check river shove, which
well,
was
the only reason, honestly, I did that is because he was literally probably, aside from Sherman, who's at my table, he was literally probably the only player that I was certain that this kind of move would have worked on. Like I said, he was playing pretty tight. He was playing conservative. He wasn't getting out of line, and I could tell that he didn't like being put in these difficult spots, which is honestly the only reason I went for the river check raise all in. And like you said, if I raised the turn, which I knew he wasn't going to fold, it looks to me as if even if I did do that, I was getting called anyway. This guy didn't look, I guess now, because I remember Sherman afterwards was playing with him for like a solid hour or so. He's like, bro, this guy doesn't like to fold. Well, motherfucker, I wish I knew that before I pulled this move. So thanks, Sherman.
Yeah, that would have been some information that would have been helpful. Yeah, I mean, those are kind of weird spots. I don't think you played it bad. I probably would have elected to try to play it a little differently. But I think there's a good chance I even get the same result maybe if I do it the other way. But I really think if he's playing tight conservative, it's going to be hard to just call down with one pair when you've showed strength on the turn and you showed strength on the river. With just showing strength on the river, he can maybe pray that you missed a draw and his one pair is good. But with you showing strength on the turn and the river, I think it's pretty likely that one pair shouldn't be good there and he's going to fold. But you never know. Like I said, we played that session at the Hard Rock that one time. I showed literally the nuts for 2 hours. I showed quads. I showed full houses, the nut flush. And this guy at this table is witnessing me just turning over the blades. And I went for a little play with 7 high versus this guy, where basically I bet the flop with 7 high. I turn absolutely nothing and bomb the turn. And then the river, so I think I bet like 25, I bet 55. And the river, this guy just leads out for 100. He just leads out for 100 into me, and I was 100% sure he just had top pair. So I have 7 high in the spot. I've showed nothing but the nuts. Clearly, I'm not getting out of line, and I just rip in 350. And my boy just doesn't know what to do. He turns his hand face up. He's got king jack on a jack high board, and he's just like, how could I be beat? I mean, this kid's only shown the blades all day.
Soul read.
And he just made the call. So, I mean, it was pretty sick. But, those are the kind of things that you got to do. I like the heart. You got to go for it. But sometimes it doesn't always work out.
The thing about this hand with me and this guy is, like, so had I made my straight, it's super disguised. The 6 on the river is pretty much just as big of a blank as a 7 or a deuce, which would have made my straight. So, looking back at it, I'm fine with my play. It looks like I'm getting called unless he's like some sort of sick read on me where if a 7 or deuce does come and he does fold.
What if a diamond comes? What are you doing?
If a diamond came, I told myself I'm just going to blast it because I think there's a good chance he's probably just going to check behind. But because a brick came, I mean, even though I didn't make a pair, I decided to go for it. You got to show some heart. And obviously I just had, call on my forehead. I don't know.
He just soul read you. He just knew. He said, this Asian kid's getting out of line. I get it.
Which is funny because I was playing pretty conservative and pretty tight. I wasn't messing around too often. And then the one time I do decide to get out of line, some guy puts on the cape and, just decides to be the hero.
Do you think there's a chance that he listened to the Sesh Podcast with Sherman Johnson before he made this call?
I'm going to go with a strong no.
I mean, that could influence him. You never know.
But if this particular player did listen to the podcast, good call, buddy.
So that was poker in Vegas. I haven't been playing here, but you have. How'd Friday's session go? Anything good?
So usually on Friday, that's like my all-day poker day. I'll play during the day. I'll take a little break, whether that's to go to dinner, whether that's to go to the gym, whether that's just to go, out and about. I'll always come back because I feel like it's necessary to take a break, especially if I'm going to play all day. Friday afternoon, $160, solid. Table was a little slow, action was a little slow. It was also like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Came back Friday, refreshed, just trying to recoup some losses from Vegas. And I did the opposite of that, actually. I played the 1-3-6 game, and that didn't go so well. Made a really good read, but the wrong decision. That makes sense. I put a guy in his exact hand, said it out loud, and still called.
Ah, okay. But the exact hand had you beat. Yeah.
The exact hand had me beat, yes. Hard to beat a full house when you have one pair. Well, 2 pair, I'm sorry. And then, after that, just nothing went right. I would get it in top pair flush draw against a nut straight, not get there one time. flush over flush, hands like that. And this was just kind of the hand of the night that just kind of put me out of my misery, that just kind of ended my night. Some guy opens to 20, gets 3 callers. I'm in the big line with pocket queens. I make it 125, and he just shoves for like 2.25, folds back around to me, and I call it, and he has king jack offsuit. Oh. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is where everything turns around. Instead of being down 1,000, I'll win like, 300 or 400 in this hand and only be down like 600 or 700, which is very, easy to come back to. Unfortunately, he hits a king on the river, and this is the funny thing. I've never had anybody try to do this at the table. So after he doubled up through me, he kept saying sorry to me, and he actually tried to give me my chips back, like on the table.
Did you tell him, yo, my man, hit me up outside?
No, I didn't, because, if you're bad enough to put it all in with king jack, then you deserve the money. But I'm just saying, I've never had that happen before where someone offered me my losses back. If it was 1,000, maybe I'd take it, but 200, whatever. But that was the first for me, that just kind of topped off my night. The table broke after that. Couldn't come at a better time. I probably shouldn't have even played after the 136 game broke, but as one of my good friends say, you live and you learn.
Yeah, that's our good friend Dustin Bradley, who also didn't have a good night, did he?
You know what? He gambled a little bit. He wasn't quite himself. He decided to put it in his last 300, looking at just an ace.
Oh, okay.
That did not go so well for him, but we all have bad sessions. It's part of poker. Variance takes over at some point, and it's how you deal with it. Like, I lost 1,046 that night, and I think Dustin probably lost the same, and then he lost the same the night after. So it's been a rough night for the corporation.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I wish I could get in there and help bring some profit here to the Sesh Podcast group.
You can, though. It's just if you ever played poker, but you're MIA.
I'll be here, man. I will be here Wednesday. You can catch me at the final table for sure.
Bet.
No, but
that's what I thought.
We are going, you, me, and Dustin are taking a little trip the first weekend in October. We're going to Dallas, Texas, and we're going to go check out the Dallas Cowboys playing the Green Bay Packers at AT&T Stadium.
Now, for those of you who are wondering why the hell we're going to Dallas, Dustin is a huge Cowboys fan.
For what reason, I don't know.
I am a huge Packers fan.
For what reason, I don't know.
And for what reason, I don't know, Jordan is coming along.
Hell yeah, party, let's go.
Aren't you the same guy that hates watching football like live?
I hate going to Bucs games. I hate going to FSU games because they're outdoors. Doe Campbell and Ray J.
So it has nothing to do.
It
has nothing to do with the fact that they're both very bad this year.
Well, first of all, the Bucs are the truth. Did you see Thursday night?
The defense might be the truth, but
defense is for
until
real.
You guys, start Vinny Testaverde Jr., then I don't see this.
Jameis 0 turnovers.
Yeah, for the first time in his career, I think.
I'm just saying, I'm going to this game because, A, Cowboy Stadium is a must. I heard everyone said you must go to this place.
I have heard good things about it.
It's pretty sick. I've been to Dallas a couple times, but always, I have family in Dallas, so I don't really explore the actual city. So I think Daniel and I and Dustin, we're going to be there. We get in Friday night. We're going to have all Saturday to kind of take in the city, get some, check out some cool places, get some cool food and drinks in us. And then Sunday, it's all about the game. And what's interesting is, to my shock, is that the Cowboys and the Packers seem to actually be legit. Is that really going to be the case?
Bro, we already knew going into the season the Packers were going to turn things around. As you saw yesterday, they took care of the Vikings. As you saw the week before, they took care of the Bears. Not being biased, I think they have a very good chance of not only winning this division, but being a top-tier contender in the NFC overall. I'm so confident that I put a bet on them to win the Super Bowl out in Vegas. 20-1. It was something small, $50. I wish I had more money on me. I probably would have bet like $2,000 on them if I could have, because that would have been a nice little payout. But
so you saved yourself $1,950.
No, I cost myself probably a good, $30,000.
Okay.
Oh, think about it. If I put $2,000
yeah,
at 20-1, that's $40,000.
You're not gonna win this win this fucking bet. But
I mean, I guess I easily could have put it on Jameis to win the MVP, but I wanted
that
something
would pay
somewhat.
Sick money.
I think it was $1 million to 1, so I probably could have put $1 on it.
Hey, the long shots pay off the biggest. So I'm excited because these two trash teams are actually going to be good when we're out there. So that'll be fun. And just hanging out with Dustin, Daniel. Maybe we'll do a podcast on the road. Maybe that might be something we can do.
I like that idea. Live podcast from Dallas. If you guys are listening, let us know if that's something you'd like to, listen to or watch. If not, we can even do Facebook Live, Instagram Live.
I like it. We can figure something out. We'll figure something out there. We'll have a good time. Anything else, Dan Lee, before we shut it down here?
Just don't forget about the PLO tournament this coming Wednesday. We start at 6 o'clock. Registration runs through 9:30, so there's plenty of time to sign up. Plenty of time to rebuy, which I feel like there's going to be a lot of, considering it's only $150. I think we're going to get a great turnout. So come out, have some fun. If you haven't, play a new game, and come say hi to me and Jordan, and be on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll be here at around 7 o'clock, so I'll probably late reg about an hour in. That's all right. As you've seen in PLO, I don't need a lot of chips to make magic happen. So I'll come in, and we'll see. This has been a long time, A, since I played a tournament, and B, since I played PLO. So hopefully I remember what I'm doing, and I play flawless poker as usual. But if I don't, A, somebody got very lucky, and congratulations, you're the best. So, yeah, come say hi to Daniel and I this Wednesday here at the Silks. 6 o'clock tournament starts, registration through 9:30. 5K guarantee, but I expect it to go way over the guarantee. Come on out, have some fun, and, yeah, maybe be part of the podcast. So
I just said all that.
Yeah, I was just reaffirming what you said. My bad.
Why are you copying? You need your own material.
My bad. So, for Dan Lee, this is your boy JP. From all of us here at the Silk Sesh Podcast, look forward to seeing you Wednesday. Make sure to follow us on IG at Silk Sesh Podcast, on Twitter at Silk Sesh Podcast, and on Facebook, Silk Sesh Podcast. Until next time, it's Jordan saying peace.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Peace.